You are listening to an independent production. All additional audio elements were provided copyright-free and belong to their respective owners. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of Gateway to Eden. Today we are going to be talking about funding and location of the commune. Now, the reason we are talking about both funding and location together, and reminder, this is a very generalized thing. We're not getting into super specifics today, but we are going to be talking about both of them together because they do somewhat go hand in hand. There are only certain things that you can do on certain patches of land. So, anyway, sorry about the side note. I got a couple of chats on TikTok about that.
We want the father to be sane when the commune starts. Mostly. I want to start out with an announcement. Now, I know I was just nice and friendly and positive a moment ago, but this is a serious announcement with the recent events that have been going on politically. The recent events that have gone on politically, specifically with ICE agents and what they've been doing. If you are in support of that, get the fuck out. Full stop. Okay? Because I don't care if you're misinformed. I don't care if you truly believe that ICE is doing what the GOP is telling you they're doing. That means you are someone who would rat out Anne Frank. And that is not a person that is safe for my community. That is not a person that is going to make my community safe. That is not a person that is going to make the commune safe. Whether you have good intentions or not. Sorry. That's working against everything we're aiming for.
Exactly. Yeah. The reason I have to make this announcement is because a couple days ago, I actually had a falling out with a friend over this. And I know this friend, she has very good intentions. She's not a malicious person, but she truly believes whatever ICE is doing is good, and it's not safe. It is not safe to have someone around like that, regardless of personal feelings toward them. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. There's a few other details, but I'm going to leave it there. Let's move on. All right. Serious stuff out of the way. Moving on to, as I said before, funding and location. Bombed Carnivore and Vic-Roll. Well, actually, do we want to reintroduce ourselves again?
I'm Bombed Carnivore, heavy mechanic and welder.
I'm Vic-Roll. I'm a truck driver and video game developer.
I am Broseph Seed. I am neither of those things. I am a TikToker who was bullied into doing cosplay of Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5 and further bullied into doing this.
We didn't bully you. We forcibly swayed your opinion.
That's bullying!
No, that's reworded in legalese, so.
There we go.
God damn it. Mildly coerced.
Oh,
I like that one more. I'll go with that.
Oh my god. You two are horrible.
Yeah, I know I'm horrible. I introduced you to Furby Pope.
Oh my god. Max 44, and we'll do it again. All right. So, funding locations. So, where do we want to start with that? Do we want to start with the places that we've been looking at recently?
I think that's Vic-Roll's court.
So let's start at the Vertshire Center Road.
Vertshire Center Road, Vertshire, Vermont. All right. So, what are the positives of this?
So, it's a very good location right near a highway. It already has an open spot at street level, which would make loading and unloading for vehicles way easier. It is on a hilly terrain, which we can deal with.
Okay.
Everything in New England's a hill, basically. You basically go ocean, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down Canada. It has maple sugar trees on it, so we could potentially lease those trees out to a local maple syrup producer to make some income. It already has electrical on property, 200 amp service, and there's fiber internet running right along the road already. So we don't need to try and worry about running fiber for high speed. And it is set up for subdivision already.
And
So we wouldn't really have to worry about that. There's a lot of hardwood trees we could, in a decade, have cut down and sold as part of a pre-organized property management system. And it's over 100 acres. Oh, and it's a few minutes from Ben and Jerry's.
oh, yes. Yes, everybody knows what Ben and Jerry's have been doing. So it's practically set up for us.
A lot of these properties that I've been finding are set up that we could move right in. The next one is the Hayden Hill in Duxbury, Vermont.
Hayden Hill, Duxbury, Vermont. That's very
So this
pretty as
is
well.
a pretty heavily wooded property near a highway again.
It already has some roads and trails made.
Oh, that's
Yeah, and it's
beautiful.
and almost all the properties in Vermont, like all the big ones, are part of Vermont's snowmobile trail access. So we would have to deal with that, having just snowmobilers come riding through it randomly.
Okay,
But
so with that being said, my question is insurance.
I don't know anything about the snowmobile,
Because
how the snowmobile setup works.
I would assume that since we're not allowed to restrict snowmobile access, we wouldn't have to worry as much about insurance because, we're being forced to allow them on there.
Yeah, that's all I understand right now.
If that's the case, I guess, we could work on the trails and, basically say, hey, here's some designated trails for you guys. If you stay on here, we're not going to have a problem or something.
Well,
like
that's
that.
how it works with the state, because the state set up the trail network.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
This property is also 10 minutes from Ben and Jerry's. A lot of these places are reasonable drive to get good ice cream. So the next two I also found, we're going to go to the Rowe, Massachusetts location. Now, this was zoned as residential, but because Rowe is a small town, they'll be probably more than likely to adjust the zoning for it to be agriculture. I think it's near or on a lake.
Well, I'm seeing a sign. In one of the photos, I'm seeing a sign for Pelham Lake Park.
So it's butting up
very
to a
pretty.
public park.
I mean, I can see that being a good thing.
178 acres, about 685 feet of road frontage for us to work with, and a portion of that is on Tunnel Road, which is a not maintained resident access road.
It's on a non-maintained resident access road.
So we could probably get in the good graces of the locals
Yeah, I was
by
going to say.
maintaining said road.
I was about to say. And then on said road, do you think we could set up a little area?
If you're saying a farm stand or something,
Yeah.
probably not. A lot of those access roads usually say resident access only on them because
Okay.
it's the residents who are maintaining it, and they don't
Yeah.
want
We don't. Yeah.
That-
we don't want
that's
to
how
do
my
anything
neighborhood is.
because
We load up the truck and do it elsewhere.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
sell the
that
food
would work.
elsewhere. Not
Yeah, because
on the
neighbors, that's how it is for my neighborhood. We maintain the road here, plow it, maintain it, everything. And at one point, Waze was using it as a shortcut. And we had to go to the local town government and have them basically order it off.
if we're not setting anything up specifically for the other residents, then we shouldn't be setting up on that little residential road. And by setting up for the residents, I mean giving out food. Not selling it, giving it out to each other.
We'd have to find out how much, if there's any protected acreage, if there's any forestry plan in place. It doesn't list anything. It's a lot of northern properties, above Connecticut, Rhode Island. They get tax benefits for saying these 10 acres I will never touch for a decade or 50 years or whatever. So those trees can just grow without being touched. And then every decade they go through and thin out the trees.
So that brings up a question that I have. How much acreage would we need to make a self-sufficient amount of food?
Well, we did briefly talk about not doing traditional farming and going with more of a greenhouse approach, and greenhouses don't take up a whole lot of room.
Yeah, especially if we use aquaponics.
Aquaponics in
Thank
shipping containers, we could probably stack them 2 or 3 high and shove them all together in a corner.
exactly. That's what I love about them. It's vertical farming, so you can vertically stack it so it's not taking up a whole bunch of land space.
So, we buy, say, 53-foot containers, stack them 3 high, probably 6 to a row facing each other. That's 12 53-foot long containers that you can grow in.
That's a lot of food.
Yeah.
Okay,
And if you
so-
run like UV lights 24/7 and heat them in the winter with like say wood boilers, you're growing year round.
Yeah. Okay.
And that amount of food could support. I'm gonna go off the numbers on the Discord, which is about 300-ish people.
Oh,
That
wow.
would probably be enough to support 300.
Yeah. And then we could have, a dedicated hunting party that can go out to like Pennsylvania to go hog hunting. Vermont's got like a massive amount of whitetail deer. Three per person, three per license. And if it's bow hunting season, you can also use a crossbow.
So, we can touch on how we're going to do agriculture in a sec. But with, doing a vertical setup, that I love the idea, doing a vertical setup, non-traditional, aquaponics, all of that stuff, because then we don't have to worry so much about actually getting land that we can use for traditional agriculture. Because that is what I was originally thinking, because I'm not a farmer. I don't know how to farm. I don't know agriculture. But having guys like you, Vickrel and Bomb Carnivore, and other members of the server giving different points of view, that's really helping out. I really appreciate it. And it really opens up where we can build this thing. Steuben and T7 Route 1.
Okay, so this property is 760 acres, which is 750 acres.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
It's a lot of flat. It's a lot of open. It's got a swamp, which we wouldn't be able to touch because that's wet. That's federally protected wetlands. It's got a lake that we could potentially build on, but would have to get Army Corps of Engineer permission, because again, it's wetland. And this is spread between two counties, Washington and Hancock County. The only concern I have is that it is like right near the water and in a low-lying land.
Okay,
So
are
there's
you
the potential
thinking
for
flooding?
And flood insurance is not cheap.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the map, it's basically like the property Route 1, a little bit of woodland, Atlantic Ocean. There was another property we found in Maine that was like 1,700 acres. It's already sold.
Oof.
Damn.
That was at the complete opposite end. That was up next to like Canada.
At the same time, next to Canada, that would have been great. At the same time, I want to remind everyone that while these are great patches of land and we love them, they're also just really at this point examples, because we are not really anywhere near buying land to build on yet.
As much as we would love to be.
Oh,
Yeah.
if I had all the money in the world.
We wouldn't be having this chat. We'd just have the commune already.
Yeah.
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 Also, on the commune topic, if we do end up planning to move to the Northeast, we need to find another name to call it. Because I was hanging out at the club this morning, and I told one of my friends there about it. He's like, "Oh, you gotta change that name, bro. That ain't gonna fly up here."
Is it because of the gay part or because of what it was saying?
No, it's more that after World War II, a whole bunch of people fled the Soviet Union
Oh.
to America, and commune has a very negative connotation up here. Communist Russia and the Soviet Union, communes were like basically government-run towns where the government owned you.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
You did things to help government, and the government didn't give a shit about you. So we might
I
want
can
to look at
understand
another
that, then.
name.
Well, actually, think about that. I keep saying the commune, just referring to what it is. Do we have a name for it besides Eden's Gate?
We do not, which we might have to turn to the community for help looking for another name to
I'm
reference
fine
it.
with that. I'm fine with that.
Because the bar owner was like, "Yeah, that sounds communist, bro, and that don't fly up here." Witchy bits. I think that would work.
Witchy bits, yeah. Calling it a co-op instead of a commune.
Co-op is much more American.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, let's call it the co-op.
Homestead.
So we don't have the poles showing up at our door with torches and AKs.
Well, I mean, that was also, speaking of co-op, that was also one of the ideas that we were talking about with funding, doing a food co-op instead of because I found a TikTok that I think was sent to me. I forget. It was so many things happen so quickly. You forget what happens like 2 days ago. I'm pretty sure someone sent it to me for the co-op, in that if we register as a church, we're tax exempt, so we could open up a grocery store, and then, instead of a grocery store, that would be a co-op. So, like, funding possibility, it's a food co-op on a co-op. So, and
Now, we do have to register as a nonprofit first.
Yep.
Set up a board, get a mission statement. There's a few other requirements, and then we could file with the IRS to become a church.
There we go. Is there a certain time, like waiting period, that we need to go through?
My friend didn't tell me.
Okay. We could figure that out later. That's just a thing that I
He's
thought
on the
about.
board for another New Age religion.
Of course. Test. There we go. Okay.
One of the chat members has experience with setting up 503, dealing with getting government grants.
Yes!
We'll need to apply as a nonprofit and a 503c. As a nonprofit, you'll need a board of directors.
Yeah, I did make sure to tell Bressa we need a board of directors. Which I guess means also we'll need to forge documents, get private subscriptions to country clubs and a private jet, and drop a few $100 million on air travel. 'Cause that's the modern thing to do, right?
Yep.
Oh, and then lie about it as taxes.
7 Architects 7. All you have to do is drag me along and book a small concert in the area, and you can write it off as a business expense. Actually, yeah. Last week, we talked about hosting weddings and such, and if we're registered as a church, that would probably make that easier, wouldn't it?
It definitely would make it easier.
And then a lot of that would be business expenses, and oh my gosh, I can write all of my film stuff off as business expenses.
Yeah, it's finally sinking in.
Yeah, I know. God.
Capitalism has claimed him as one of its own.
Okay, but like, what? Yeah, it was you, Bombed Carnivore. The last week you said just because we want a different system, because we don't like the system we're operating in, doesn't mean we can't operate in it, or something along those lines, right?
We have to. This is the system we're beginning. We don't have a choices to go, no, I'm not participating. If you want to make things happen, you have to participate.
Exactly. And it's like, that's why the argument of, and yet you're posting this on a Apple device or cell phone doesn't work. Like, we don't have a choice. I legitimately, in order to get paid from my work, I have to go through a smartphone, a smart device, to do my time cards to get paid. If I don't make money, and I don't survive. I can't pay for my house. I can't pay for my food or anything. So we're forced to use it.
You either opt in or you die.
Exactly.
That's the choice we're given.
That's called coercion.
Manipulation.
Use it or be used by it. Yes. Max 44. This whole cult is just so he has a surplus of workers and actors. Maybe.
He just wants a whole mess of extras that he doesn't have to pay.
But
Yeah,
I
and you'll
will
never
pay
see me on
you.
camera.
Okay, I'm not gonna deny. I'm not gonna deny that I don't. My headset died. Hold on.
Fair market value. Did I lose connection?
No, I'm still here.
There we go. Sorry about that. My headset died. It was beep. That's why it was beeping in my ears. What was I saying? Oh, right. Yeah, I will not deny that I don't want the film extras, but at the same time, I will fairly compensate you, okay? I will fairly compensate you. Beyond just food and shelter. Make our own little Hollywood up in the Minnesota.
Funding for the film with grants will have to show proof of payment to actors. Oh, look. More taxpayer-funded stuff.
Oh, I got completely off track. I have no. Okay. I think there's one more link that we didn't see. Marlboro, Vermont. That's that's the last link of good stuff that you sent, Vicroll, that we haven't looked at. I think.
That we just looked at the Marble.
Did we? We looked at Steuben and T7.
Oh, that was right. We need to look at Marlboro, which is near Brattleboro. 15-20 minute drive because nothing moves fast in the Northeast. From Brattleboro, which is a sort of the southern most bigger town in Vermont. There's a medical center and stuff, but it's also like 20 minutes from the Massachusetts border. So if you need anything big, we can go down to Massachusetts, or you can go north. Tons of ski resorts nearby, so if we ever want to get into the tourist industry, we could potentially turn this into a campground. There's not a lot of homes out in like the hills down there, and if they are, a lot of them are being turned into Airbnbs.
I mean, that is an option we have for us.
Oh,
we could build an extra house or two.
There is a stream that flows through it, and it already has laid out gravelly dirt roads.
So, yeah, didn't you mention this used to be? Yeah, you have it right there. This one was a farm at one point.
Yeah, there is an electricity easement going through the property.
Where is it? Yeah, I saw the photos. I can see the power lines.
It's just not high tension power lines. It's just the town has an easement to run up power poles through it.
Okay, so is there like a certain area around the poles that we're not allowed to touch?
I would not move or live near the poles personally, but you see that width, that's the swath through there that the easement has access to. They can go in and at any time they want, go in, cut brush back, cut out trees to protect their power lines.
But the power line being there would make it easier for us to get power service to the commune because we already have poles there. Now all you got to do is tap off the lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and electricians can do that. The power company come out, set up a box and a meter and everything. Since there's a river flowing through it, we could very easily tap into underground aquifer for well water. It is a lot more newer growth, so not a lot in terms of making money off of trees. There's a stream that's off of the Marlboro Branch stream. There is high-speed internet, probably no fiber, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
There is already electricity on site.
This is probably something that is going to have to get researched later.
And it's been on the market since March of last year.
It's either going to go soon or it's going to see a pretty significant price drop soon.
Yeah.
To get it to go.
Flip of the coin. So,
but because this already has dirt roads, we wouldn't have to run UTVs and ATVs around when we make roads. We'd have room to move in medium-sized trucks, pickup trucks, cars. The stream, we might be able to get permission to put in a weir so we could run hydro off of it.
Hydroelectric power.
Yeah.
Also possibly put in the weir to get irrigation for the hydroponics.
Moving on, let's head over to the bad examples.
So, really the only bad part about these examples is that they're too small. If we're going to set up a town, like, our own little co-op village, we need a lot of land because there is a minimum space requirement between, say, cabins. And,
we can't just
jam
everybody
100 acres.
Together.
Yeah, there's space requirements. There's going to be sewage requirements. There's going to be power, water, electricity, like running poles, and then you have to have the units certain far from the poles. And so everything's going to be a bit more spread out, which is why I'm looking for over 130 acres. Because we can take 30 acres and be like, this is the town, and we have 100 acres to tree growth for future investment opportunity. If there's sugar maples, we can harvest those. We can get someone to harvest those. That kind of thing.
Mason just mentioned something in the chat, sorry. Septic, at least as far as they know, requires 2.5 acres per system. So, yeah, I can see that.
My backup idea was if we can get grants, we can put in sewage burners and just incinerate it.
There's the heat for your hydroponics.
Well,
I was about to ask. Of incineration burners. We would to meet state and EPA standards, we would probably have to install wood boilers, which is a a system you install outside, and you plumb water into it, and you throw wood, or I've seen farms do hay as well, into the boiler. It burns it, heats the water. The water is then pumped out, down, underground to whatever building it's going to. And we could heat a lot of the commercial farm setup with a wood boiler.
Speaking of wood boilers and heating that way, composting, would composting work well for that as well?
We would want to probably set up composting sections for the farms, not as a fuel source.
Yeah, sorry. No, not as a fuel source, but just like, I know compost piles generate heat, and quite often people have, just run water lines.
Nowhere near enough to offset winter. Because, like, right now, outside my house in southern Connecticut, it is 15 degrees. It is freezing cold in Vermont right now. A compost pile is not going to be able to offset that heat.
And then there's the question of off-gassing from the compost pile.
Yeah, which is why you want it away from everything else, because it smells really bad.
Not only does it smell bad, it has genuinely noxious gases coming off it, and you don't want to fill your home with ammonia. Do we have another bad example to look at?
There were 3 small properties that are just because of their size.
All of this is just because of their size. I remember we were talking about another reason that the Highway 53 in Minnesota, I think, because you were talking about how it was really steep right next to the road? Or is this a different one?
That's on a highway. I couldn't find road access to that property without having to get permission to go through someone else's land.
Oh, and look, it's also got a railroad too.
Yeah, you don't want to live next to a railroad.
Yeah.
I did that. That was not fun.
You don't want to live next to a railroad, says the guy who wants to make the public transportation system for the commune train.
Yeah, but we're not going to be running, a 2-mile long company that runs through CSX freight train at 60 miles an hour.
Fair point.
Because, I looked at that property, I was like, it's a cool property, but it's split by a train, which means we'd have to have multiple track crossing points, which is a liability nightmare. There's a river that we'd have to cross at one point, which is a permitting nightmare for a small group. It's not viable. Cool property, but not viable for what we need.
Okay, so I don't know if you two can see what I've done, but on Twitch, I just brought up the screenshots you were talking about of the plot by I-90. That's what I was thinking of, not the link you sent me earlier. This is what you were talking about. It's right next to a highway. There's no access. It's steep going down into the highway. Stuff like that is just
you wouldn't be able to stop on the highway. There's no exit ramps from the highway anywhere near that property. Because that stretch of I-90, there's nothing near there. It's on the side of a hill, which is, we can deal with, that's easy to build with. But the fact that you can't access the land, it is landlocked, and that, according to a different realtor site, the person that owns the land on the other side of the hill will not allow a road to be put through, means that that's a tree investment land. That's it. You're getting it for the tax refunds from the state of Massachusetts for the trees on it. And there's a lot of land I've seen that people shared that I've gone through and been like, we can't do this because of this, this, and this, and I delete the link.
So, explanation for everyone watching the stream and potentially later listening to the podcast and watching the podcast. The reason we brought these links up and what's good and what's bad is because if you guys want to go out and find your own links, do it. Share it with us. This I'm going to say it every episode over and over and over again.
Yes, share ideas with us. This is a community effort. It's not just us.
Yes.
The co-op is a community effort.
Because I already I have gained so much more knowledge because of interaction with other people on this.
Don't care about where the land is.
Yeah.
We're looking for something in a mostly blue state with decent laws that protect trans people. After that, go nuts. We'll look at anything.
Minnesota, New England.
Worst case, the answer's no.
Something I have family that buy a lot of land and sell a lot of land. When you're looking at land, see what's around it. See if there's access via maintained roads. Is it dirt? Is it gravel? Is it pavement? What's nearby? A lot of the places I have picked out, there is access to healthcare, there's access to amenities, there's grocery stores nearby, like reasonable distance, that kind of stuff. Because if you buy land in the middle of nowhere, it could be a 2-hour plus round trip to go to a grocery store.
You were mentioning earlier about how some of the good examples had power and internet connected to them too, because they're nearby. So yeah,
that's always a bonus, but I don't think that's really going to be a deal breaker.
Yeah, because we are planning on doing our own little power generation and such.
Oh no, a lot of states up here require you to be hooked into the grid, even if you're making a surplus of power on your own.
Fair enough. I'm fine with that.
I think it's foolish, but that's what the law is, and we're going to abide by what the law says, even if we don't really agree with it.
Like you said, we got to work within the system that we're forced to work within.
You got to use the tools you got, not the tools you wish you had.
If I kept myself from doing anything until I had the tools I wish I had, I would have never gone through film school.
Mason had not a terrible idea.
What's the terrible idea?
Maybe we should pin a list of states to work with and ones that are no-goes to make life easy. Go.
That is not a terrible idea. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think the list should just be blue versus red.
Yeah, pin it to the top of the
and
chat.
leave out California and Massachusetts. They're great states, but they're too hella expensive.
Yeah, I think we will make a list in order of most desirable to least desirable. Good idea?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about location. We gotten that taken care of. Let's talk a little bit more about funding, because I know we kind of went on a couple tangents there. Us three talked a little bit more about funding during our little powwow yesterday, but I think we should stick to what we said we were good with and kind of leave out the stuff that is either too far off or not viable for us. So, like I said earlier in the podcast, we were talking about with registering as a church, we could do food co-ops, weddings, groceries. I mentioned charter schooling. Someone mentioned that to me. I forget who. I do apologize. As per usual, stay away from tourism unless we're established because of insurance purposes. Earlier, who was it that mentioned doing Airbnbs and camps?
I honestly don't know, but camps, no, but an Airbnb is, we build an extra house or two and
we maintain
get basically
them.
free money.
We could hire someone inside the co-op to do the cleaning. We make like a cute little A-frame house, set it up in the woods somewhere away from everything else, and charge a few $1,000.
I've actually seen on Zach Hazard, he rents out every now and again an old Firewatch tower as a bit like a rental.
A Firewatch tower?
Oh. Yeah.
There aren't many of those left up here, but yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying we could. I'm not saying we're going to, but we could build one and rent it out as an Airbnb and make lots of money.
Okay.
One of the popular ones up here are old cabooses and old rail cars. Take them off the tracks, put them on a suction track on the property, and there's a few of them in Connecticut that are really popular. Okay,
so with those two ideas, I just had possibly a couple of stupid ones. Absolutely feel free to shoot these down the moment I say.
But put the caboose on top?
Dude, no, that's not what I was thinking of. I was actually thinking of a bunch of interconnected Firewatch towers with like rope bridges and something for fun reasons, like just a big treehouse network type deal.
That could be fun, but I think the risks involved are a little high.
That's why I said feel free to shoot it down. But alternatively, less risky with the caboose idea, we just have an entire train that is Airbnbs. Like each car is a different Airbnb.
We could probably do that.
Oh yeah, that would be doable.
Yeah.
Hard part would be getting the train cars to the site if it's not already attached to the main line.
Yeah. That's. I figured that might be the case.
Oh, there's something to look for.
I'm not
property
saying
with an abandoned rail line.
It is entirely doable.
Oh yeah.
It's just a little more expensive because now you have to rent a couple cranes to load it onto a heavy haul trailer and a couple cranes to unload it.
Or just a really big winch. We have a company that makes like specialty rail cars here in Connecticut. They just drop lowboys, and they bolt tracks onto them. They just winch the train car up onto the lowboy and then pick it up and drive off.
Sounds like I gotta get the CDL and the heavy haul.
Raya B523 is suggesting tiny homes for Airbnb. That's like if they're just staying for a night or two. Yeah, I actually, when I was down in Texas, I stayed in a tiny home. It was advertised as a quote unquote Zen retreat, and the rooms were literally just a single room cabin with a bed in it. And it would literally open up to a hill that had a great view of a bunch of bluffs down in Texas. It was nice. It was really nice. They had a really nice cafe in the same town that I just loved the breakfast in. Anyway, I'm starting to sound like a hipster.
What do you mean
Hey.
starting to?
What do you mean starting?
Hipster from day one. I mean, come on, man.
Fair enough.
You've got the man bun.
I didn't choose the man bun.
The man bun chose you.
No, you bullied me into the man bun. You all did. I blame all of you for this.
I had no part in this. I got on board after you had gotten the corrosive seed person.
I came around when you were just starting it.
Witchy Bits suggests paintball course and rage room.
I don't know, because we'll be out in the woods. You know, that kind of stuff you show up near, like, civilization.
I
Yeah.
could see the paintball
mean-
being moderately successful out in bumblefuck nowhere, especially if we got the Airbnb stuff going. That way they come out, they play, they crash, they go home.
Oh, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
But
Yeah, it's
then again,
just-
that's getting awful close to the tourism we're not looking to get into right
Yeah,
off the bat.
Yeah, I was
and
about to
commercial
ask that
airsoft
part.
fields, so we got more insurance and stuff. That
'Cause,
would be
um,
after we've set up.
Yeah, I figured as much because we have nearby, there is actually an airsoft field that's probably about 20-minute drive away from civilization where I am, the town that I live in. The city that I live near, 20 minutes out, there's a paintball field that I've gone to multiple times, and it's actually quite a lot of fun. I'm angry about this because I used to have paintball equipment, and then someone stole it. I had a trunk of it, and someone stole it from my garage, and I am pissed about it.
As you should be.
Because this was when I was in the military, when I was in the Navy. I would go paintballing every other weekend because I just enjoyed it so much.
I was
Good
never
way
in
to get
shape
out there and
enough.
stay in shape.
I was pretty good at it. Architect, it was way back in 2016. Because I was in prototype at the time. That's when I had to get my own apartment. I wasn't allowed in the barracks anymore.
Too pretty for the barracks. You're distracting all the other boots.
Little bit of a tangent. I do apologize. When I was in the military, when you go into the nuke program, you start off as an E3 because of, it's a bargaining
Make sure
chip.
you're sticking
It's a
around for a while.
it's bribery to get you into the nuke program because there are so few members in the fleet that do the nuclear stuff, and nuclear reactors are the backbone of the power source of the Navy. These are the reason aircraft carriers can go where they can go.
And operate at sea for so long before they have to come.
Speaking of operating at sea for so long, like, if I remember correctly, 30 years. 30 years is the lifespan for when they go out and come back. And that's not even what they're capable of. They are capable of staying out at sea 60, 70, 80 years beyond when they were first built. We just bring them back after 30 years because
Not
we
because
can.
of the reactors, because of all the other stuff on the boat that
Yes!
wears down and ages out.
Yes!
Once you build a nuclear reactor, it's kind of good for a long time.
It doesn't even need to be refueled as often as we do. We just do that as a safety measure to make sure all the civilians are okay with us using them.
Oh, there is so much. That's why I ended up getting into your channel is the nuclear energy education.
Oh, yeah, it is. I forgot. Yes.
My lady friend is in here adding helpful comments.
Well, she's
I
adding
just have
helpful...
my roommates behind me.
peering over your shoulders.
Yeah, well, okay, how do I put this? Okay, ads are over. Yeah, on one shoulder is my roommate in his Arcanine suit, booping the back of my head. And over my other shoulder is my my friend who can't actually speak.
If he wasn't booping the back of your head, I'd be disappointed.
Raya B523 says, hi, roommates.
Hello. They say hello. Well, one waves and the other
Yeah,
one just
she's
keeps
calling
booping.
me out now.
Actually, my lady friend has added a couple of good comments, too. Speaking of, one of the comments that she added was talking about a food forest. And it's a fun idea, but if we're going with aquaponics and vertical stuff and greenhouses, not much reason to do that. So, I love you, hon.
Oh, no. Food forest is good.
Oh.
We got a lot of stuff we can harvest out of forest up here.
Oh, so we could do both in conjunction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who will, like, the property I manage, there's a guy who comes in, pays me a few $100 and goes and picks all the mushrooms and onions.
Okay, cool.
We have a whole bunch of, like, natural onions that show up.
She's going to hold that over my head. She heard.
Oh no!
Yeah,
You've got
there's a lot of stuff you
Damocles.
can pick in a forest. And
I
if
do
we're
like that idea.
as
If we're-
agriculture, we can just do it.
And then that would also be a fun activity for the kids when we have families on the commune. On the co-op. Sorry, we're going to call it a co-op from now on.
The village.
The village! Oh, okay. Actually, you know, that makes it kind of sound like a Resident Evil game.
That's kind
Yeah.
of what I was going for.
I just had a thought, and I'm not going to say it because I know my lady friend is going to absolutely use that against me.
What, the village people...
No, something about Lady Demetresque.
ha, 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 ha.
Well, it also doesn't
I
help.
want to know it now.
So it also doesn't help because, like, a couple years ago, someone said I looked like Heisenberg from Village.
Yeah, you kind of do.
Yeah.
I have a
can see
hat.
that.
I have a hat
You've
that
got
matches
that.
his.
I have the glasses.
I have the glasses too. I have a pair of round sunglasses that are prescriptions that I can use.
Mine aren't prescription. Mine are just sunglasses.
Anyway, so I think we are good to leave it there. We discussed quite a lot. I'm happy about that. Topic for next week. What should we be going with? Shameless plug. We have a Discord. We have we have a section specifically talking about the commune and what we're doing in the commune and what we can do in the commune. Next one, I think we should talk about farming. I want to talk about housing. I want to talk about housing for sure. In that we could talk about farming too and transportation just to have a little bit more stuff to...
Well, it all kind of ties
Oh, no,
in together.
transportation is going to turn into one episode. You have two car guys in a chat.
It's going to be us yelling at each other. You're wrong. No, you're wrong. The whole time.
Your idea is fucking stupid.
So we'll talk about transportation in things. So I guess housing and farming tomorrow, next week.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
We should see if anybody on this Discord server is an actual farmer.
And again, like anyone who wants to join in on the podcast and talk, we have something called the Town Hall Waiting Room. It should be unlocked for everyone. Yeah, it's not private, so you guys should be able to hop into the Town Hall Waiting Room if you want to join us on stream and record and actually speak on stream. Next week we'll be talking about housing and farming and the different methods and ideas we have when it comes to that. We might expand a little bit on the Airbnb idea as well, because we got a couple of good ideas for that. With that being said, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your engagement. This is one of the most watched streams I've had so far, and I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vickrel. Thank you, Bombed Carnivore, for joining me today. Thank you so much, everybody. Anything you guys want to say?
Remember, kids, if you see someone stealing food, no, you didn't.
Remember to yell if you see ice.
There we go. There we go. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. This has been the Gateway to Eden podcast. Please join us again.